Welcome back to The Cutting Room. I'm James Clark. It's the show where each week we take a TV show or movie and we make a dish that we think would accompany it the best. In honor of the upcoming Spider-Man No Way Home, we're doing the 2002 superhero classic Spider-Man, starring Tobey Maguire, directed by Sam Raimi. And we're making New York-style deli sandwiches because there is nothing more New York than a sandwich, and there's no superhero more New York than Spider-Man. Fight me if you're a Captain America fan. The correct answer is Spider-Man. So we're going to make some delicious sandwiches, and we're going to talk about probably the most influential superhero movie, maybe outside of Tim Burton's '89 Batman. So stick around, we're going to make some great sandwiches, and we're going to talk about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is a 2002 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name. Directed by Sam Raimi, it is the first installment in the Spider-Man trilogy, and stars Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane, James Franco as Harry Osborn, Cliff Robinson as Uncle Ben, and Rosemary Harris as Aunt May. The film follows outcast teen genius Peter Parker, who develops spider-like superhuman abilities after being bitten by a genetically modified spider. He decides to use his newfound powers to fight crime and protect the people of New York City as Spider-Man. You're going to need bread. I used a baguette, tomatoes, an onion, lettuce, ham, salami, mortadella, one of these Italian deli platters, cheese, smoked or provolone is the best, extra virgin olive oil, white vinegar, mayo, oregano or an Italian herb mix, black pepper.
Okay, so we're going to start making these sandwiches, and we're going to start with the lettuce first. I couldn't get my hands on iceberg because the store was out of them, but I got these romaine hearts. That'll work fine. Really simple. You're just going to cut this end bed off here because you don't really need it. Throw it over there, who cares? And you just want to cut some chunks. So basically what you're trying to do is get like a shredded lettuce thing. So I'm going to cut some of these here. And I'm just going to just cut it. So for deli sandwich lettuce, you want to get it thin. I put mine in like a pile like this and sort of do this, back and forth cutting motion. You don't want it to be like a big leaf. You don't want a big chunk of lettuce when you're eating it. And we're also going to marinate this in a little vinegar and oil and some oregano and some other Italian herbs. So you want it to get this sort of thin consistency, like a shredded lettuce. That's all you need. And make enough for however big a sandwich you're going to make. I'm going to make a pretty big sandwich, so we're going to need a lot of it. Okay, so now you got your lettuce all nice and shredded. The chunks aren't too big. You're usually going to put in a bowl here on the side just so it's out of your way. Alright, now we're going to move over to the onion. Pretty easy. So as you saw with the coat of the onions, you want them sort of thin like this, sort of like you get when you're getting a Whopper or a Big Mac or something, these big burger slice onions, and you want to take the center out because we don't really need it. I'm going to throw them in a bowl over here, and some people soak these in water. You don't have to soak them in water if you don't want to. It just sometimes kills the oniony flavor a little bit. I like a pretty oniony sandwich, so the onions are fine for me the way they are. Mileage varies though. If you don't like oniony flavor, soak them in water. Alright, now we're going to cut some tomatoes. You got your tomatoes all nice and sliced. You want them sliced like this, sort of similar again to that concept of a hamburger patty sliced for a fresh tomato. And we're going to start making the vinaigrette that's going to go in our lettuce for the salad.
Now for the lettuce. Take 2 capfuls of the extra virgin olive oil. That's just how I measured it. It was easiest for me. You can do it whatever way you like, but 2 is a good measurement. Then you're going to take the vinegar. I used 2 tablespoons. Next, we're going to take my Italian herb mix. Now, I tried to shake this normally and make it look all pretty for the camera, but it came out really slow, as you can see here. Not doing so hot, so I just decided to take the cap off, put a bunch in my hand. You're going to mix it in anyway. It doesn't matter. Once you got that all nice and good, you're going to mix it really thoroughly with your hands. Don't be afraid to get in there and make sure everything gets mixed up and nice.
Now we're going to talk about meat because the sandwich is not complete without the meat. You're going to need a few types of meat really. Cornerstone, ham, whatever type of ham you like. I got this lean honey roast ham from the grocery grocery store. I got 3 packs of this because in the United Kingdom, they don't give the big American style sections of meat in the deli counter. Not a thing. So I got a few of these. You also get one of these Italian deli selections if you want to. Totally acceptable, totally fine. If anybody's going to tell you it's not, literally everybody from New York will grab one of these. Make sandwiches at home. Not offensive. More salami. You can never have too much salami. Whatever kind of salami you want to get. And I got some more mortadella as well because I was feeling like it and it made me nostalgic for a sandwich I used to eat which had mortadella in it. So we're going to put that in our sandwich as well. Good stuff. Cheese, I got some of this Bavarian smoked cheese. It's what they have in the grocery store. They don't have provolone here. It's really hard to get it. There's like 2 places I can get it and they're really far out of my way. It's also expensive. If you have access to provolone, get provolone. That's the correct choice. But this cheese is good. It's smoked. It'll taste fine with the sandwich. It'll do it in a pinch. That's no problem. All right, bread. I can't get soft Italian deli rolls here, so I got a baguette. I went to Marks and Sparks because it's like the nicest grocery store type place in the UK, and I got one of their fresh baked baguettes. This will do fine. We can make a really good sandwich out of this. If you can get soft deli rolls, get soft deli rolls. You can make them yourself, but that's not really what this channel is about. I'm not going to spend all day making bread rolls. You're not going to spend all day making bread rolls. Just good bread. Whatever the best bread is in your area, go get some of that. All right, now we're going to start putting this sandwich together.
Now we're going to build a sandwich. Take your thicker cut salami and layer it out evenly. Be careful not to fold it. You just want to lay the pieces individually and soften the bread. You're going to line them up right over each other in a row. Repeat this process again with the rest of your meats. The order here is pretty visible. You start with the ham and move on. After your meat's all nice and layered, you're going to grab yourself your cheese. You're going to lay the slices out evenly. I use 3 for this sub, but you can pack a little more cheese if you feel like. And finally, we're going to move on to our lettuce mixture, the stuff that's been marinating and smells delicious now. You're going to layer it out evenly with a spoon. You can use your hand, the spoon's a bit neater. Get it all a little bit on each side just so it's nice and full. Then you're going to take your raw onions or your soaked onions, depending on how you made them, and the tomatoes. Finally, we're going to fold that bad boy in half with some parchment paper. Make sure to roll it really tight and push the sides. Cut it in half, and you're done.
Alright, now we're going to eat these delicious sandwiches. We're going to talk about Spider-Man. The 2002 Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the original big live-action Spider-Man. I remember when this movie came out, I was 7. Wow, it was a really long time ago. I'm now old enough that they are nostalgia baiting me into believing that Tobey Maguire is going to be in the new movie, which is why we're doing this whole series. I have no real complaints about this movie because it's so steeped in nostalgia for me, even the things that I know are bad. Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin is really campy. The special effects are kind of dated now. There are some, quips and things he says that wouldn't really fly today, but whatever, it's 2002. These movies are really important, especially if you like superhero movies, because this is the movie that really proved that it could work. X-Men came out, big success, but they were still like, oh, we'll see, And they've been trying to make a live-action Spider-Man for like 30 years when this movie came out. It was a big deal that it finally got made. Sam Raimi, really interesting choice to pick for the director. He made like the Evil Dead movies and stuff. Not necessarily the guy you'd pick really to do a big-budget Spider-Man. I think James Cameron was even rumored at one point to do it. Really terrifyingly, Michael Jackson tried to buy the rights to Spider-Man to like put himself in a live-action Spider-Man movie. Thankfully, we were spared all of that. It was worth the wait. Willem Dafoe is Willem Dafoe the Green Goblin, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane, James Franco's Harry. Great movie. The music is iconic, like the opening Spider-Man thing, and it plays when he first, when he's discovering his powers and he crawls up the wall. Incredible. I think Danny Elfman did the score. I can hear it in my head right now as I'm talking about this. It's sending chills, up my spine just thinking about it. I'm gonna take a bite of my deli sandwich. And fun fact, a lot of places in New York call these heroes. I think they're called grinders in Philly or whatever. But East Coast American culture, in Chicago too, big sandwich places. And I grew up eating sandwiches just like this. The lettuce vinaigrette thing we made earlier, that smells like my childhood to me. There were some places I used to go to, CB's, Direct Sub, which is a chain place upstate New York. Anybody who's from upstate will know that. Everybody, whether you're from Long Island or Queens or Brooklyn, Manhattan, you've got a sandwich that you love. You've got a sandwich place you go to, and to me that felt like the correct thing to make for this movie. It reminds me of home. It reminds me of that time in my life, and yeah, they're just sandwiches. They're delicious. They're always good. They're timeless and iconic, just like Spider-Man. I'm gonna take a good bite. Mmm. Mmm. In the words of Harry Osborn, so good.
How's the pie?
So good.
Also with Dr. Pepper, because movie time, Dr. Pepper is like heavily advertised in this movie. One of those things I remember. There's literally a scene where he like webs a Dr. Pepper can. So, packed up a Dr. Pepper with your Spider-Man themed hero sandwich. These movies this movie was so important and successful. It spawned 2 really important sequels. We'll talk about those as we continue this series. This movie's also important because it's one of the things that came out after 9/11 that people were like excited about again. I was really young when 9/11 happened, but I do have like a conscious memory of it. I knew people who were affected by it. I knew people's dads were firefighters and cops and stuff like that, even though I didn't grow up in the city. I grew up upstate. This movie was a big deal, and the music was great. The way the Spider-Man costume looked. Tobey Maguire did a really great balance of nerdy Peter Parker and fun, quippy Spider-Man. We almost forgot to talk about Jonah Jameson. Perfect casting, so good. J.K. Simmons is so born to play this role that when they were even considering recasting it, they just went, let's just get J.K. Simmons again. You can't do better. And actually, it says so much about these movies and how well they were done, even if it deviates from the comic book, that they brought J.K. Simmons back for the new movie. They brought Willem Dafoe back as Green Goblin for the movie. They brought Alfred Molina back to play Doc Ock in the new movie. Get to Spider-Man 2 in the next episode. Spider-Man 1 still. These movies are really important. They're important to me, they're important to a whole generation of people, and it's important because they were made by people who care about the character. You get lots of movies and stuff that come out now where people sort of half-heartedly care. It wasn't just we're doing this for a cash grab, it's we want to do this because it's Spider-Man and he's an iconic character, and there's so many moments about this movie that I love. Peter's relationship with Uncle Ben is perfect. It's so good that they haven't been able to replicate it or do it again. Even when they do it in the Andrew Garfield movies, it doesn't quite have the same effect. The whole sequence where he discovers his powers, from when he web slings and he's trying to figure out how to do it for the first time. Tobey Maguire, notable, he doesn't need a web shooter. He doesn't need synthetic webs. He's just genetically has it. Interesting character change. I actually like that. That's cool. I think that works better than the web slinger. I don't think the web slingers have ever worked on camera at all, even in the other versions. But yeah, this movie's great. I've probably seen it 30 or 40 times. And I think Spider-Man, more than any other character, if you've ever read the post 9/11 Spider-Man comic book, it's a piece of fiction that talks about a tragic event and handles it so well. And actually, the trailers leading up to this movie, I believe he either lands on the Empire State Building or he swings past it. You can look up the trailer, there's lots of articles about it. And that was edited out of the movie. But he has this sort of iconic moment where he's talking about being Spider-Man at the end of the movie, where he sort of lands on the side of the flag, and that was nice, I think that superhero movies kind of haven't captured the same thing as this one did for me. It was really a right place, right time thing. And the shocking thing about this movie is this follow-up sequel is even better. Sam Raimi really cared about this character, he really cared about the casting, the music, the costumes, the atmosphere. It's the one out of the 3 iterations of Spider-Man we've gotten that feels the most like New York. It especially feels like that era of New York. I mean, they literally have Macy Gray sing at the Thanksgiving Day parade, it's perfect. It's dated, but it's perfect. And I'm so excited at the prospect that we might get Tobey Maguire back again as Spider-Man, because we never got the Spider-Man 4 we were supposed to get. And it'll be a nice character close, especially for people my age, to get to see him one more time. Really hope you enjoyed this episode. I really hope you enjoyed us talking about Spider-Man. We're going to take another delicious bite of our sandwich. Also, we still have some chips and a pickle. Normally you get a nice long dill pickle, but I can't get those here. You know, limitations and budget. We'll see you next time for Spider-Man 2. Let's go share.